Well, howdy, Schlockaholics. Welcome back to yet another episode. It's been a little while since we rolled out uh, a segment for the flagship show here, and we're coming back with quite a bang. We got a good batch of short films to discuss today from the Metroshia short films collections, chosen by our very own Septum Sin of Septum Sin versus the World. We're going to let him, go ahead and explain to us why he chose these sets, and kind of we'll run through our general first impressions, and then we'll jump in there and break down the shorts in each collection because we have two of them to go through. A lot of good stuff here. Just as a little bit of a disclaimer, though, I am having some internet issues today on account of the local music festival that they launched like 200 yards from my house. So, I might be a little choppy, but I can hear you guys, and that's what counts. I missed this, man. I really missed this. And I think that this is a perfect comeback episode. It's chock full of variety. There's a lot of dumb shit we're going to talk about right now.
Oh, yeah.
And that's what we do best on this channel, I think. So, Brandon, why did you, what was your mindset going into choosing the Metroshia stuff? How did you become acquainted? Give us a little backstory. Like, what's your history with these guys, and why did you choose these shorts?
So the simple reason why I wanted to do this, because what I've wanted to do eventually is I wanted to get the skeleton key stuff done, but everything keeps jumping in front. But I really wanted to cover the Christmas special these guys did, because I watch it every year. But some of it has callbacks to these collections. And I thought, why not ask and see if these guys will be willing to cover it, because the two collections together is just a long movie in length. So I was like, okay, well, let's see if we can just run this by. So that was my reasoning. Nothing complex, just a background for what I really want later. I'd never seen these before. Well, I saw them for the first time when we were going to originally cover them, but I'd never seen these before that. But I was acquainted to them because of Snow Shark, actually. And I had been looking up Snow Shark because a friend of mine who passed in, I want to say 2021 or 2020, one of those years, which is really sad, way before his time. But he was always like going on about this thing, Snow Shark. And it sounded so cheesy and so silly. And I was like, okay, I've got to see it, because I like to see anything cheesy and silly back in those days. So I was able to hunt him down. Actually, what I did is I asked Dave to be my bounty hunter and hunt it down, because he had some connections back then. And he was able to get me to their Kaneki page. And I bought their entire catalog because they were all like $1 and $2 a piece. I think I bought like their entire catalog for like $20. So, I mean, I was there. And the funny thing is, I have never seen the full version of Snow Shark. I have still yet to watch that film. But I had started on the Dorothy the Pig collection, which I was like, no more. And then I hit the Christmas special, which I was like, actually, this is somewhat entertaining in a weird and low budget way. And then I gained a slow love for that and appreciation. So I started watching it every year. So then I said, you know what? I want to address some of the ones that came before this, and what better way than to hit Schlockaholics and go for that. So that's
here we are. Yeah, yes. I'm glad that you chose it, man. What about you, Cody? What was your general impression? I mean, I assume you're in the same boat as me in that I was definitely aware, I think, of Snow Shark probably through you, Brandon, mentioning it at some point, maybe. All those dumb shark movies I tend to hear about from one of these guys at some point.
I'm surprised Polonia wasn't involved.
Honestly, these guys have their own particular brand of shit, so I'm kind of glad that he wasn't. But we'll get to that in my first impression. So were you in the same kind of boat, Cody? Like you were unaware of the Metroshia dudes, or did you know about them?
No, I had no idea. Hadn't heard of them at all. And the Snow Shark thing, I don't think I found out about until the first time watching it towards the end. I want to say there was a clip on there of one of them talking. Either had like a screen behind him or something, and you could see it. So that what sucks is when I saw that, I was like, well, I got to buy it and find it. I want to watch this, and of course, like anything else, if you don't buy it right away, you forget about it. And
Right.
unfortunately, I forgot all about it until you just mentioned it again.
Though it is actually available for purchase, I forwarded y'all the link
Okay.
that was there, I think, in the chat, and asked if Mo would put it below later, because they had asked if we would also do it too if we were covering the films, even though these particular ones are no longer for sale, because they still have this one and Post-Apocalyptic Commando Shark for sale.
Fuck yeah. We need to get these ones back out there, guys. And I did forget to put your link down there, but I'll add it as soon as we're done. Yeah, man. So what did you think of the shorts the first time through? You know, what was your general impression of the dudes and their films?
We still on May?
Yeah.
Yeah. Not too bad. I mean, with that many, it's almost like an anthology thing. Like you're bound to find some that you like more than others, and some that you don't like at all. And luckily, I mean, like we were talking about off air, some of these are, a few minutes long, and I think the longest one's maybe 20 minutes. So if you don't like it, it's not like you're suffering for very long or anything like that.
Yeah, you just get up, go get a pop or a bag of chips or something, and by the time you get back, it's probably over. Dude, I fucking loved this, Brandon. I loved every second of it with the exception of 2 shorts. And even those I didn't hate. I just didn't, I mean, they weren't as good as the other stuff. I think watching it in the order it's presented on the discs that you set us up with, where it starts, which I guess, we'll go ahead and, damn it. we'll go ahead and just, put it up on screen so that we know what we're talking about here. And I'm sure we're going to break it down first because that's how it's presented. But on the disc that Brandon hooked us up with, it starts with the shorts from, I think it's Films from the Vault of Madness. And I think that this is a perfect crash course for these guys' stuff. I mean, it starts out with that first short there. I forget what it's called, like "Be careful whose grave you piss on" or something like that, or "Don't go pissing on the wrong grave."
Don't go pissing on the wrong grave, yeah.
As soon as I heard the words, so you want to go piss on a tombstone, I knew that I was in for some good stuff. And as soon as I heard the follow-up of "you pissed on my sister wife's grave," I knew I was fucking sold, dude. And so I knew I was going to be in for some good laughs. But then as it progresses, I think these guys are fucking brilliant. It's rare that you see like a B-movie troupe where you look at their shorts and you're like, these guys could do whatever they want and it's going to be pretty kick-ass. They're not limited to just horror. They're not limited to sci-fi. They're not limited to just comedy. They perfectly blend all of it, I think. There's several of these that do a good job of starting out hilarious and then getting real grim and dark by the end of them. Especially that the one with the oranges. My God.
Well, that was very dark, that one.
Yeah, we're going to break them all down here, but this sold me on these guys, and it's my favorite of the 2 short compilations. I think it's safe to say, for me at least, that this will be a yearly Halloween watch from now on. The Films from the Vault of Madness. It's just great, man. It's perfectly my brand of comedy, I guess, the type of stuff that I like. I think I like this stuff for very much the same reasons that I like the Chris Seaver stuff, but it's like different. They don't feel like they're aping anybody by doing this stuff. It's their own weird brand of, I don't know where they're from, North Dakota or something, Michigan. I'm
Minnesota.
not sure.
I don't know.
Yeah, it's definitely a northern state. There's a part in one of the shorts where they stop. There's a part in one of the shorts where they stop mid-fight to take off their boots in the mudroom as they're coming into the house. I mean, that's like the most northern hemisphere thing in the world.
Yeah.
Love it. Love it. I think it's safe to say that I'm a fan of this shit. And honestly, I'm kind of slightly nervous to watch their feature films. I like these shorts enough and I like the way that their brand of humor and horror is delivered in a lot of this stuff, that I would be nervous to see it like stretched out to feature length for fear of it losing some of its punch, its luster. But I'm willing to give it a try. That Post-Apocalyptic Commando Shark or whatever, that looks pretty good. And then obviously Snow Shark is one I'm gonna have to see it at some point.
Yeah, there's kind of there's like a short for Snow Shark in the Christmas special. So
I believe it's also available on their YouTube channel.
yeah, so you can see a lot of those there. But yeah, well, I guess if we start, we could go ahead and start there with Don't Go Pissing on the Wrong Grave. I actually wrote it all down so I'd know which one's which, because some of them do go by real quick.
Yeah, I had a notepad with notes, but it's like fucking put in some fucking drawer somewhere upstairs. I don't know. I didn't have time to find it. There's a new baby in the house, so they've been moving stuff around without my knowledge up there.
I had to write down that you pissed on my sister wife's grave.
I put it on mine.
Yeah, I loved it.
I put it on mine too.
And they've used that kitchen set up as a bar like multiple times in their shorts, which is also kind of fun.
I think that's one of the main qualities that really gives this a lot of its charm is it feels like really high-end backyard movie making. And because it is backyard movies the whole time. Like it's all around their house, and I think pretty much most of them are just shot around that house.
Yeah.
They're like movies that you would come over and just make with your friends, mostly to make yourself laugh, but they're doing it really, really well. You know, that first short is a good time. It's quick to the point. I think these dudes basically get kicked out of a kitchen bar and they decide they're going to just go piss on some gravestones, as you do. And they make the mistake of pissing on the wrong gravestone. This old fucking hillbilly gets real mad about it. And he comes at them with some type of Mad Max weaponry right there. It looks like.
I didn't expect it to go there when I first watched it, I'll admit. I thought it was going to be some sort of supernatural thing when they did that. You know, when they do that stuff, usually something supernatural happens. Not this redneck gets mad and starts trying to hunt him down.
Just fucking whack him with a hacksaw blade. Yeah, it's just good, straightforward, I guess, sort of like backwoods horror stuff, if you want to look at it that way. It's just a quick little short for some yucks. I enjoyed it. I think it was the perfect first impression, and then as the compilation, you know, progressed, like I said, I was more and more sold on the dudes just as filmmakers. I don't know. You guys have any thoughts on that first one? Anything in particular? It's a pretty quick one.
The weapon that the guy used, that was a cool looking weapon that he had. I don't know why. I even wrote that. I have extensive notes, and then when I watched it again, I altered the notes a little bit. But yeah, that was because I was going to lose them all, so I wanted to make sure I had my initial impression. But yeah, that weapon was cool. What about you?
It's neat. It reminds me of something one of those random like post-apocalyptic wanderer guys would wield in Borderlands or something like that, you know. And these guys seem like they're into gaming, so maybe it even is like, I don't know if it's a prop they built themselves or if it's like a collectible they bought from a video game or something like that, but neither would surprise me.
Well, they definitely value toilet paper.
That's true. But we all do, I think. And little did they know, some years later, people would value it most of all for like a summer.
Oh, yeah. Let me actually add, these were done in 2008, mostly in that area. So actually, same year that Shackle Demon Project came out. I don't know why. Actually, I know why I thought about it, because it's another group of kids that got together and decided we're going to make films in our neighborhood, in our house. It's like it's kind of must be a good year for those types of like guerrilla projects.
Oh yeah, and these guys were cranking them out. I think a couple of them might have said 2006, but my glasses are broke, so don't quote me on that. But
yeah,
they were prolifically producing these shorts for a good few years there. I'm sure it was a glorious time to be hanging around with these dudes. And it seems to mostly be, I don't know what their relation is or how to pronounce their last name. Was it like a couple of brothers and a cousin or something? Or do you know how they're all related?
I have no clue. I mean, I know that they still have a YouTube account going, and they will respond to what you say on their videos because they still upload. But I don't know much. Maybe when we cover the Christmas one, maybe I'll see if I can get one of them to come on with us.
That'd be awesome.
Give us a little bit more insight.
Yeah, that'd be super sick, dude.
Why
I don't know. I like how disgusting the beard was in that first short as well. I love a good disgusting fake beard.
he played a good redneck.
He does, yeah. He had the voice down. And yeah, that's really all I have to say about that first one. I mean, again, it's real straightforward to the point. Yeah. What's the next one we got on the list there, Brandon?
Welcome to the House of Sleep. So this one is about this insomnia cure group. And then once they are all given this drug to go to sleep, the therapist robs them, and then they all have nightmares. So it kind of goes in a very weird direction afterwards. Shoot, they could have left it after he robbed them and left, and I would have been perfectly fine with that short. I would have thought, okay, yes, this is hilarious. But then they went in a weird direction. So now I'm like, I kind of like it still, but I'm still not like, because I wrote down the quote, "No, sir, the arm is fine."
Yeah, I love that bit.
But and also, man, those are disturbing stories for insomnias. So I just wake up and start hurting people.
But it could do that too, I would imagine. Staying up for too many days on end make you make some rash decisions. Maybe run over your grandma several times or whatever. Yeah, it's a great example of how a lot of the humor is layered over like proper dark shit in some of these, you know. Which I think is fun. A lot of shorts or a lot of just schlock in general will sacrifice any level of like sinisterness or actual horror to just be goofy fun, you know. I think these dudes do a good job when they want to of blending the two so that you're not losing the impact of some of the creepier, like more grim stuff in the shit to the humor. It's blended pretty perfectly. I like those pig masks that they had in this short. Those were pretty fucking cool.
Yeah.
I love that the whole gimmick is that he just pretty much roofied them so that he could take their wallets. And then I do love the sort of Reservoir Dogs style stabbing scene where he just kills everybody. That was pretty fun.
I don't know why, but this one has. I don't know why this one and the one Christmas short that's on the other thing. I don't know why they remind me of each other, but it feels like there's like a cultish involvement with one of the weird hallucination people that show up. But it's it's just one of those things for me.
I don't know. You got any thoughts on it, Cody? You like the House of Sleep?
You guys went over the high spots. I mean, definitely the shot in the arm line was pretty good. And just the kind of twist at the end of the dude doing all that just to rob him. I guess not at the end, but what you thought initially was the end. But I like this one too. I mean, it's pretty straightforward, but it was good.
Yeah, it's solid stuff. It's a unique premise for a short, I guess. That it's like all these insomniacs trying to get treatment for their insomnia, you know.
To me, the next one here, The Devil's Fruit, is definitely the darkest of the shorts. I mean, it's still slightly humorous, but it's definitely very dark. It's about a group of hunters that are in the woods on a snowy day, and they find doing some hunting, of course, and they end up finding some oranges on the ground, decide to eat them, which, you know, as you do, and then they start fighting over the remaining orange. My only note on this is Guy has a hatchet on his back the whole time and waits forever to use it. Apparently, that was my thought process at the time. I was like, why did you wait so long to use the hatchet?
It did break almost immediately, though. So I don't know how handy it would have came in, but it did. You know, he got a couple of swipes in there with it. I thought he pulled it out of his pocket. I didn't notice it on his back for whatever reason. So I thought he pulled it out of his pocket, which added just a good layer of extra humor for me. But yeah, those winter oranges, man, they're a rare delicacy, I guess. I'd like to try one day. I think this is the short, really, like I said, kind of as it wore on, I realized like these guys might be kind of brilliant, actually. You know, like this fully convinced me that they could pull off like a low budget version of a Fargo type movie or something. You know, just the whole vibe that it had to it and the way the humor was delivered, but not, you know, having it overshadow any of the morbid elements of the whole thing. The whole crazy fight sequence being like humorous, but also really unnerving and kind of uncomfortable as it progressed was really cool.
There's one on here. There's one on these two that definitely has a very crazy fight sequence, but not on this. Not on this volume.
Yeah, it does. I don't know. What do you think of the Devil's Fruit, Cody?
Yeah, I liked it. I didn't go into too much detail on my notes. I just put down killer oranges. But it was a fun one. Yeah, I like seeing what can make someone go crazy, I suppose.
So if y'all found some oranges just laying in the snow, would you just
Absolutely.
you go for it?
In the snow for sure, because they're not going to be like gross. They're in the snow, you know, nice and chilled. I imagine it would be a juicy treat while you're out there waiting for animals. I love that it starts out that the dude's like, you know, mad at him for eating the oranges because he's making too much noise, but he's like low-key yelling at him about it. I like that he's dressed in orange too, which kind of foreshadows the momentary cannibalism that happens towards the end. Once he started taking bites out of him, which I think is really the peak disturbing moment in the fight scene. The way the other dude like shrieks as he's doing it. I thought he was going to fully eat him after that point, but I think it ended the way that it needed to. It's pretty great, man. It's one of those shorts that'll stick with me for a long time.
Yeah, certainly the darkest of the ones that they have.
I would agree. Yeah.
They may have done darker. I haven't seen all of their short film compilations, but the weird egg compilation, I just sincerely doubt that's going to be more serious than this. And I think there's a couple others that are there, but they're both. But the other ones like that I've seen, the Dorothy the Pig ones, are supposed to be all comedy, and I got to revisit them. But I just did not like them the first time I watched them, so I need to check them out again. Of course, like I said, I watched those probably around 2014, something like that. So it's been a little while.
Well, might be time for a revisit, man. But I think just even if this was just the 3 shorts that we've talked about so far on here, it would be a yearly watch for me. Like this Devil's Fruit one especially is one of the main reasons I think I'll revisit it. This one and Sweet Tooth are like perfect sort of Halloween time short films to bang out.
No, the next one actually is also fairly serious. I guess I totally blanked on it because Home is Where the Heart Dies is the next one. And essentially, the guy walks in and everybody is dead. So he hunts down this dude in a Rastafarian wig who just happened to be leaving at the time, shoots him with a shotgun, but then finds out that he didn't find out. But then you go back and you find out that, nope, he wasn't involved at all. It was somebody totally different. My only note on this is, Charles's chips, which I guess apparently I was very focused on the Charles's chips in the background, which they are good. They are good potato chips. I will say that. But
is that like an out east kind of a thing?
I know that in Richmond they've been pretty big. What they used to come in these cans, and they're really old. My mother used to really love them when she was a kid. And I really liked them too when I finally got a hold of some. They're pretty decent chips.
I'll have to give them a try if I ever run across them. I don't think we have them out here, at least not widely available. My main takeaway from this one was kind of it just built on the whole vibe of the Devil's Fruit in convincing me that these guys could do a sort of Fargo type.
Yeah.
I don't know what you call Fargo, what kind of movie that is, but it's like one of those twists and turns that lead people into a fucked up situation that gradually gets more out of hand until people are dying, and and there's like comedy involved as well as that like small town, Minnesota vibe or whatever they have going in Fargo. These guys kind of have that, but without the full on like Minnesota vibes. That's why I think I maybe thought it was like North Dakota or somewhere where there's Minnesota makes sense, I guess, but they don't really have those accents. But just the vibe of this one and Devil's Fruit, both for some reason really reminded me of Fargo. In just the way that it was like kind of not horror, more so just, again, like a situation that gets out of hand and ends up resulting in murder from unexpected people, and I liked it. It's not my favorite of the shorts. I think it might be one of the shortest of them as well. But it's just kind of them, I guess, flexing that muscle a little bit more like they did in Devil's Fruit and doing like some northern murder and mayhem,
I thought it was actually well done with what they did, and that whole idea of don't jump to conclusions because you never know what really happened unless you really think about it. But I mean, I don't know if any of us were in that situation if we wouldn't go off the handle at that point. So
I mean, if you walked in and found your whole family dead or whatever, and there's like you got crossed paths with the last person to be leaving the house, then you would probably assume that it was them. Like, why else would that person be there? We didn't really get an explanation for that in the short, I don't think. It's just kind of like, whoops, killed the wrong person. That's the whole hook of it. But I like it. It's one I think that could be expanded into a longer film for sure. Whereas maybe Devil's Fruit kind of works perfectly as the short that it is. This could have used some more room to breathe and build up the mystery of who actually did it or whatever.
I think
what do you think?
Of this one was when the guy was getting strangled and then kind of suffocated with the pillow, like his arms are flailing, and then he just kind of points at the guy and then dies.
Yeah, that was good.
Yeah. Well, I guess we go on.
There's not much to that one. I mean,
that was very short. It was very short. To the triple zombie disturbia. Guy spends his time alone during the holidays. He seeks revenge. They all come back as zombies. And I'll admit, the friends are really assholes. But
they really are.
They shouldn't have been. It wasn't asshole enough to go kill them all. But I guess they got their vengeance in the end because they came back and killed him. So,
it's got a very like Creep Show or Tales from the Crypt vibe to it for me. Like I kind of felt like that's what they were doing with this one a little bit.
This is my notation when I found. I was like, did they make every single one of these around Christmas time? Because a lot of these have the Christmas ornaments up and the snow on the ground.
Yeah, they do actually. It's kind of works simultaneously as like a Halloween little short marathon and then also Christmas. This one I did, unfortunately, on the disc had some issues or whatever. The audio like cuts out halfway through the short, so I had to watch the second half of it with no audio, but it was still fun to watch. There's like a Zorro that shows up at some point. It definitely seems like one of their crazier and over the top and more involved shorts when it comes to the costuming and all of that stuff, the effects, I guess. A lot of the other stuff's real straightforward. They might have like a prop that they're working with and some simple blood effects, but there was like zombie makeup in this and stuff, which I thought was pretty cool, and like more elaborate use of costumes. I think it might be the most elaborate use of costumes and stuff of all the shorts, with the exception of the alien one.
Yeah, I know that some of the rips I did were on the old machine that I had, and I found out that it wasn't always getting a full rip out of the stuff, which is sad. With my $1 DVD that I got originally, but still, I thought that was fun. Overall, I had trouble remembering it when I watched it a second time. I was like, I don't remember this. Other than his friends are dicks was the biggest thing I had actually written originally when I did the original commentary.
Right.
That's definitely the gist of it.
What's that?
I mean, that's definitely the gist of it.
Pretty much. The friends are all those kind of friends that are always trying to like show you up or one up you or sort of rubbing this guy's face that he can't get the stuff that they get or whatever. You know, I think he gets a PS3 in the mail at the beginning of it, so he doesn't have too much to complain about. But I liked it, man. It's also, I think both halves of this short could have worked as their own short. You know, it could have just been him. I didn't think that the dudes were going to turn into zombies, even though it says zombies in the title of the short. Like, as when you're watching these rapid fire, the title of them can almost kind of slip in your mind as you're watching it, you know. So I was watching it, and he's like leading them there to kill them, and based on the other quickie shorts, I had just assumed that was going to be the full short, and then they like come back from the dead, you know, and that adds an extra layer to it. I think this is the longest short of all of them up to this point as well.
Yeah.
Wow. Actually, it's kind of funny because we have my favorite and least favorite short on the disc back to back. I don't know why. The main reason I actually put this up was for Sweet Tooth. And I don't know why I like it so much. I just kind of like what they did with the doll there. And maybe it's because I was so into, like, you know, Puppet Master and Ghoulies and stuff like that. So maybe that's why I liked it. But the whole thing is about this guy. He ends up getting this creepy doll at Halloween, and his brother's a dick, stealing candy and stuff. So Sweet Tooth is out there gonna kill him, open up his stomach, and eat the candy out. And they end up having a fight Sweet Tooth to the death. And that's the whole of it.
Yeah, it's very much along the lines of the stuff that we like, you know, when it comes to the tiny terror flicks and whatnot. And it manages to have a strangely like nostalgic Halloween vibe to it, even though they don't do much. I think it's because they've got their like simple costumes, and the main dude, not the kid that gets Sweet Tooth, but the guy that it targets for stealing the candy. He plays such a like perfect simplified version of sort of an 80s bully, I guess, that would take, like, he doesn't even go trick-or-treating, he just dresses up and steals candy. I liked that quite a bit. And I really, even though it is obviously like micro budget, you know, prop, I really love the design of that Sweet Tooth doll. I think it's creepy and weird, but looks legit. Like, it doesn't look like something they sewed together with the intention of it looking bad. It looks like it was made by a crazy person or something, or like it would be haunted, you know. So I found the doll to be pretty rad looking as well. What do you think of this one, Cody?
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I put in my notes full moon vibes. So I mean, that's definitely a reason why we all liked it, because we're all fans of the tiny terrors and stuff like that. And I think Sweet Tooth looked good. Didn't look cheap. Didn't look thrown together like you said. It was just fun. They definitely had that nostalgic feel to it, even though, you know, it wasn't made back then.
Right. Yeah. And even had like a little bit of a vibe of even older than Full Moon, like Trilogy of Terror, Black Devil Doll from Hell type stuff to it too. Maybe that's because of the way the doll looked or something. I don't know. It looks like something would be part of a voodoo ritual, you know. Dare I say, were they to sell replicas of this thing, I might pay a couple $100 for one, you know. So
I wouldn't mind having one. I don't know if I'd pay a couple $100 for it, but I definitely wouldn't mind having one just as a nice little like Sweet Tooth to hang up, or get permission to use them as a character on my show.
Yeah.
Well, you never got a furnace leech woman, so you don't know what it's like to overpay for replicas. He's much better. Well, he's much more well produced than those fucking leech women that they released. Goddamn.
What's crazy is how much they go for on eBay.
I might need to get in on that soon. I could use some Christmas money.
Like, they're already gone. Like, they haven't put them back on sale. They just had that one little release where if you subscribe to the Full Moon streaming, they had whatever they had left and gave them away, and now people are selling them for ridiculous amounts on eBay, and they look god awful.
Yeah, and for some reason people wanted them even as they came out, even after the reports were coming in from guys like me that were like, what the fuck is this?
Yeah.
People still wanted them. I
Yeah,
don't
they're
know.
posting videos getting the same one you got, talking about how great it looked.
Mm-hmm. Dudes be respect too. It's a bummer. But no, that Sweet Tooth fucking doll is awesome. Probably not worth $200. You know, if they wanted to sell one for $100, though, I think most people wouldn't feel too bad at buying it if they're a fan of the shorts. I really liked it, man.
I look forward to revisiting Sweet Tooth this December.
I really like how that one. I wish we knew how they were related, because there's like Sam and then Simeon, I think, is the long-haired brother or cousin, whatever he is, and then I think there's one named Brian that's in a bunch of the shorts too, and they all have the same last name, which I can't figure out how to pronounce. But
it could be like some of them are cousins or something like that, because cousins lived around the same area and they can come in, or like some of them are brothers or something. Yeah, it's all over.
Yeah, variously related, and then there's them getting together with a couple of neighborhood friends. That tends to be how the friend dynamic works when you're like a teenager at home.
Yeah, and there's always that one person who has the perfect space for things. I mean, like for us when we gamed, we all went to one friend's house. We rotated a little bit, but it was our friend's house had that perfect gaming basement with like a couch and a TV setup and all that. And I was like, yep, we were all like, yep, this is it. And because it was so removed, they didn't care if we were up all night doing the gaming sessions back then.
That sounds pretty glorious. But yeah, I like the way that long-haired cousin brother can like make his voice crack and shriek. He's still got that like prepubescent teenager voice thing going on, which I think he's too old to have. I think it's just him being able to do it, because he looks like he's like aged out of that portion of his life clearly, but he's able to like tap back into that teenager boy girl shriek, and it adds something special to a lot of these. It really made that last fight sequence in Devil's Fruit seem more like shocking when he bit into the dude and he starts shrieking. And in this, he's got some good ones too. It's classic.
Oh yeah, and I would definitely come back if they got back together and did another Sweet Tooth thing, or maybe if they made a full length movie. I think they could make a full length movie out of Sweet Tooth.
For sure, easily they could do that one as a full length. I think that one, and oddly enough, even though it's been the most straightforward and quick so far, that Home is Where the Heart Dies.
Oh yeah,
would also be a cool, like, I don't know what you call those movies. There's other stuff like Blood Simple that reminded me of the vibe of just a little bit too, like those 90s sort of sweaty crime movies, but this would obviously have the Fargo thing going on where it's more up north. And I wish I could figure that there's got to be some term for those types of films. They did a bunch of them in the 90s, especially. It's got those vibes, man. So I think that one and Sweet Tooth of this first set would be the ones that have the most potential to be made into a full length. I guess you could do Don't Piss on the Wrong Grave as well as just a low budget slasher, but I don't think it would be as special as Home or Sweet Tooth would be.
So the last one on this particular collection is The Portal. It's my least favorite of the group, but that doesn't mean that I didn't care for it. It's more just I didn't vibe with it as much as the others. The guy basically, he's just gardening. He finds a strange like thing that you put up in the garden. He puts his hand on it, and he's teleported to an alternate dimension, which is not as accommodating to him as his current dimension. I did think it was very interesting how the doppelganger angle was utilized in it. But I don't know. The first time I watched it, I kind of zoned out. So it was there and gone. The second time I watched it, I was able to get it a little bit better and like it more. But still, the one I got the least enjoyment out of throughout the whole of it. But still not bad overall for me.
See, I loved it. But that's because instantly I think it just reminded me of like something that could have been a Twilight Zone episode or Outer Limits or something like that.
Oh yeah,
where it's
that's what they want. I think that's what they were going for, definitely.
For sure. I think like it's one of those ones with Sweet Tooth being the second of the batch and Devil's Fruit that I think would work the best in an actual anthology. Like, you know, Don't Piss on the Wrong Grave, Welcome to the House of Sleep, even, you know, the triplet fucking zombie one and Home, those all feel like standalone shorts. Like they feel like they're intended to just be a short film that you watch. But Sweet Tooth, Devil's Fruit, and this one, The Portal, all feel like they would fit real snugly and nice in an actual intended anthology, you know? Like if they were doing like 6 weird tales or something, you know, and those were 3 of the weird tales in there, like Joe Sherlock style or something, I could get behind that. Like they would feel real nice and something like that.
I think they could recycle some of these, reorder some of them in different collections and have them more themed together. But
Right.
they would be interesting. Like I could take some of them off of the next collection, which we were ready to hit. I think it's Greatest Shits or something like that.
Yeah.
Which to me is the weirdest compilation of the two, because it's all over the place, both quality wise and strangeness wise.
Yeah, let's talk about that a little bit because that's where we're at. Greatest Shits Volume 1. Not it's basically impossible to find any information about online because just about every grindcore band in existence has made a compilation called Greatest Shits, obviously. So when you type in Greatest Shits Volume 1 on Google Images, you get like Japanime porn gore grind covers that have like anime girls pooping and stuff on them or something. I don't know. I barely looked through and I was like, these are all gore grind fucking EPs. And so I just, you know, gave up and asked you for the covers. Definitely all over the place in terms of the theme on this. And I do agree there's a couple of these that would have fit in nicely on the other one that you could have swapped out, I guess, stuff like the Portal for. The Portal probably would have fit in better over on this side of the fence here.
I really do feel like this one is the one where a lot of these were, let's throw whatever we can at the wall and see if it sticks. But let's start with Rockstar Massacre, which is these 80s rockstar hair band as they're sick of being overshadowed by modern music. Modern music being a keyword because that's not modern anymore. So they decide the best way to do it is to bring their version of rock back and kill off all the competition. Which
pretty much,
I like I like it in concept a lot with the crazy wigs. Just a lot of the interesting designs they have for different music types. I like the girl clapping just strangely off key, off like rhythm, and killing everyone. Yeah, killing everyone to save 80s hair rock music is just great with the hilarious costume design and the strange, horrible acoustic song at the end.
Yeah, that one, it's a lot of fun. Musically, I think it's their best work. some of the stuff in there is it'll do some things to your eardrums. I like it a lot. I think it's also a good shining example of how that main dude is really good at doing different voices and accents, because there's a couple of these shorts where he does that, and he's surprisingly good at staying in character in the accent. A lot of times when in like micro budget or no budget stuff, when someone's doing an accent, they'll break on certain lines because they're not really good at doing the accent. This guy seems to have probably practiced it a lot, and from just the general through line of all their humor being very their brand of humor and all the stuff, or his brand of humor, the dude seems like he could have been probably a good writer for Adult Swim or something like that. Like he's got that all over the place, but like strangely streamlined sense of humor that really works, you know.
These guys could have would have been good as Robot Chicken writers. I could have seen them.
For sure. It's got a bit of a Spinal Tap vibe to it, obviously. I think that's sort of what they were going for a little bit there. I'm not sure if that movie Rockstar was also out at this time back then, but
Probably.
maybe this might have been somewhat influenced by that a little bit too. It's just cool. I mean, there's no shortage of these like sort of heavy metal mayhem like horror flicks that had came out over the years, and this very much felt like their most direct like nod to 80s horror and camp and all that stuff. So, and then obviously the music as well.
Yeah, Rockstar was 2001, definitely. These guys would be in elementary school in 2001, so I'm pretty sure. So yeah.
What do you think of it, Cody?
I liked it. I mean, it was all right. I enjoy 80s rock, so having a little spoof of it was good. And then just instead of trying to find ways to, make people fans of their stuff, they're basically just
kill off everybody else.
Yeah, we'll be the only music. It's good. It's not my favorite of the batch or of the group between the two, but I like it. I'm glad that it's there.
So my favorite one on this collection is the most cringe out of all of the ones on there, which is Jugs of Calci, where this guy goes buys items at a garage sale, and he goes on a date with an empty jug of milk, and then the jug gets kidnapped, and he has to go save her.
It's not empty for long.
So I have a couple of notes from when I first watched it. Was I love the porno music that they play, and then the other one was it was a very long fight, which yes it was. And the other note I have in this is the most cringy part for me was the doll, but I think that's mainly because this was done in like between 2006 and 2008, and we're in 2023, where that is a lot cringier now than it probably would have been back then.
Listen, though, that doll, I immediately knew what they were going for, because if you were, especially if you were a teenager in those years, you definitely knew some random scrawny white dude that looked just like that doll that talked like he was black. It was just a thing. I don't think they were necessarily trying to be racial. I think they were like, this kind of looks like one of those dudes, and so they just rolled with it, and I thought it really worked.
But y'all know I like weird. I like all the weird stuff, and this is the weirdest.
It's definitely the oddest of all the shorts. Maybe Ridiculous might be the Ridiculous and Quest for the Sacred Scroll might be the other two weirdest ones, but Jugs of Calci. Wow, I mean, everybody's thought about it. You see that sultry shape of a gallon of milk, and it's hard, especially if you're into thick women. It's hard not to think about it a little bit. I just about died laughing in front of my entire family watching this thing, and they were watching it on mute because I put my headphones, like my Bluetooth headphones, to the TV when I watch movies up there for reviews, and so they're seeing this without. Not that any audio is going to give it better context, but they had to have been like, "What the fuck is this guy watching?" Like this is weirder than his normal weird, What did you think of Jugs of Calci, Cody? And have you ever been tempted by that 2%? Are you a whole milk man, or maybe skim milk if you're feeling kinky?
I like the milk and not the label, if that makes sense to you.
I kind of like the watered down element of skim milk, I guess. It reminds me of my grandpa's house, but continue.
I think my funniest part on this was just like the bed creaking.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Or the futon or whatever it was. I enjoyed this one. This was fun. This was dumb humor, and that's right up our alley for sure.
Another one that would have been really at home in like a, low budget Joe Sherlock style anthology of weirdness, I think, is Jugs of Calci. What were you gonna say, Brandon?
Joe Sherlock would have had such a shower scene with that milk jug.
Oh yeah, and I'm sure the sex scene might have been a little more explicit too. I think that it was a master stroke though, just putting in the bed creaking. That's a great example of like less is more with this kind of thing. Just listening to the bed creak so aggressively made you imagine way worse stuff than they ever could have pulled off actually showing it, you know. It was something else. I sell a lot of jugs of milk every day at work too, so it's one, especially after a second time around with it, it'll be on my mind a lot for quite a while. I think the first time I watched this, obviously I had a lot going on personal life wise, so I wasn't really able to appreciate these. This second time around, man, did I fucking love these. But this is definitely the more random of the two compilations, and I would say the weaker one because of it. But again, not that any of this shit's bad.
Yeah, and this is the only one that made me really laugh out loud. I will say some of them were funny in their own way, but this one, I don't know why, it just made me laugh. Though Abraham Jefferson walks to town, which, if people were watching this with you, they don't need the sound because this is done as a silent film.
Silent film.
Of Abraham is, man, this has also got the longest summary of all of the ones I put on here. Because
this one would have made Jake feel sophisticated. I think that, you know.
It's definitely one of the longer shorts on here. He's taking a walk. A guy tries to sell him a brick. He buys the brick. He drops it on his foot and then seems to realize he was duped. But he gets his money back, which is also something you don't expect in these things. Then he goes gambling. And I write in, man, 7 cents goes a long way, but ends up in a robbery. Everyone seems to be dying here. Last guy offers money to have him off himself, which strangely also kills the guy who wants him to off himself. Abraham does finish this by taking his own life. Boy, I was like, I guess this is one I had to follow bit by bit to get. But this is a weird one. It's done silent film style. They talk, and then they flash the words up on the screen because you're not hearing what they're saying. I did like the old time filter with some of the hair and stuff.
Yeah.
And it was weird that he was also noted, it's strange that he was carrying a piece of sushi in his pocket. But
yeah, you know, you never know though. It's a matter of public safety, right? Like you have a right to bear arms and sushi. I can get behind that.
Pocket sushi.
I was struck. Maybe I really just got sucked into these guys' vibe, man. Because this is one of the ones that on paper wouldn't immediately jump out and appeal to me. I'm not a big like old school film nerd like you and Jake. I've seen silent films here and there, but it's not something that appeals to like the film fan in me necessarily. But I'm familiar enough with it to be like, wow, they actually nailed the feel of this pretty solidly. Like it. You know, you can tell that they actually have watched a fair amount of silent films. Even the way the physical sort of like comedy, I guess, in it with the main dude playing the snake oil salesman, selling him the brick and flipping the brick around in the chairs and stuff. It had a very like legit silent film vibe to it. And I was also struck by kind of how like maybe it was the weed, I don't know. But I bought into the whole idea that he was wandering down the main street of like some old town, even though it's clearly just the backyard of that house, you know. I think having him stand up on that deck with the stuff behind him really did look like one of those like stages that those snake oil salesmen erect in random stuff. Or they have like the wagon that they pull up and it opens out into like a little wooden stage that they sell their miracle cures from. And I liked that it was just a brick. Yeah, it's good stuff. It sort of felt like the main character realized he had like cartoon invincibility because he's able to stop that one guy by plugging the gun with his finger, which I'm not sure. I've seen that in other movies where they plug a gun with something and then it makes it backfire into the person firing it, which makes sense, I guess. I'm not a gun scientist or anything, but that seems to make sense from what we know of physics and like gunpowder and the way guns work. I don't know if doing it with your finger would be safe, though.
So that's a Mythbusters episode right there.
Yeah. I don't know if you could plug it with your finger and be okay. But this guy obviously is able to shoot himself in the head later and make it affect the person that tried to get him to do it somehow. So I don't know what logic is going into that, but it was fun. I enjoyed it.
Yeah, it was weird. It was a bit dark, but also funny at the same time. So it was kind of interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Like I said, I did find it interesting. About apparently, that sushi in the pocket really just stuck out to me because I mentioned it twice in my commentary.
Yeah, dude. I think this might be the most lighthearted of all the shorts too. And like you said, they still have that layer of like sinister darkness underneath all of it, which is great. Um, Another show these guys probably could have written good stuff for is Super Jail. I don't know if you ever saw that one, but I feel like they'd fit in real good over there with that crowd of weirdos as well. What did you think of this one, Cody? I don't know if I've ever heard you even mention a silent film. Have you ever watched one?
Not that I recall.
Well, you did when you first watched the original shorts for this because you watched one. Yeah.
I liked it. It was good. I think probably me nitpicking, but I think they could have maybe tried to make the clothing look a little more timey. I mean, I'm sure they got stuff like that, like at a Goodwill or something. But other than that, it was pretty funny. The guy with the brick, if you're ugly, it'll make you beautiful. If you're overweight, it'll make you skinny. Like just so many just things that are impossible to make happen with one product. But it was I enjoyed it. It was funny. It was lighthearted. It was good. I liked it.
I thought it was weird. Yeah.
I don't know. I've never licked one of those old timey bricks before.
Yeah,
it could have worked. He didn't actually really try it. He just kind of looked at it.
It was kind of interesting that he actually got his money back right away with little fanfare difficulty.
Yeah, it's a fun one, man. I don't think it's a standout necessarily in the way that some of these other ones are, but it's not bad,
Well, and speaking of dark, the bear. So a man confronts his old friend over a valuable item. It ends badly. The stuffed bear is pretty cool. It's one of those giant bears, and I like that they show the face of the bear on the little poster they have. And I wrote the comment, "Oh my, they shoot a stuffed animal?" Apparently, I was really offended the first time I watched this. But one thing you might notice if you're looking at some of these shorts is that I've noticed that some of the guns they use are definitely real guns, which you can definitely not do in professional filmmaking, but in micro budget you can get away with that crap. But
oh yeah,
it's that one was they definitely shot that best stuffed bear.
So, I'm sure that was the whole inspiration for the short, is like it would be fun to shoot this bear. This one is one of my two least favorites of the whole batch, and it's, again, not that it's not fun, it's just kind of there. And I would say along with the other least favorite one and the silent film one, they feel the most like ones that were put out basically to probably be like early to mid 2000s internet content. They wouldn't really fit on like anything else other than a compilation like this. Like they wouldn't fit well in an anthology, I don't think, because they're just too random and done for the sake of the way they're doing it being funny, or the joke that they have, just being a brief like chuckle worthy thing. They shoot a bear. That's the short. I honestly, especially in the order that I watched them in, I assumed there was going to be a lot more to the short because all the other stuff had been so much more elaborate. I think this is the quickest, like, get in, get out short of both collections,
I totally agree with you. It's definitely, it was one of those, okay, they did that. Moving on.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, not much to say. I don't know. You got any thoughts on this, Cody? Did it deeply affect you?
It was Cody's favorite short. We're just trashing it.
This one I was not able to watch the second time, so I don't even remember it with you guys talking about it.
That also tells me how much of an impression it left on you. That it was there.
Literally, the short is like, "You give me back my thing. I'm gonna warn you one more time or you're gonna die." And he's like, "Ha ha ha, the thing is mine now." And then he shoots the bear, and that's the short.
Yeah. Well,
so there's nothing to remember. Don't feel bad, Cody.
He does light him on fire.
That is true. Yeah, I don't know. If I were to give it a star rating, there's not much of a short here, so no stars. But it's not, it's not unwatchable.
Yeah, I mean, in the whole thing, looking at this as like a compilation film, essentially, because we might as well look at it like this. This is about as much. This is, I mean, shoot, I was just in Amityville Apocalypse, and this is very much like Amityville Apocalypse compilation wise. So yeah,
Right.
I mean, you're gonna have your, huh? Okay, and then move on.
Yeah, that was a thing, and now it's over.
And speaking of, huh? Ridiculous. A guy who was traumatized by a clown vows to rid the world of all things ridiculous. But has he become that which he despises?
This was great. I loved it.
This has probably the longest fight scene in all of these darn shorts.
Yeah, it's got to be. It's neck and neck right there with Quest for the Sacred Scroll or Sacred Roll. But man, yeah, this is if there was any of these that just begged to be animated in like an anime art style, it's this one. I mean, can you imagine that with just the same audio track and everything, but it's just animated like a 90s fucking anime, I think that would be dope.
I mean, it was interesting. I can't like I said, the fight scene was, I swear they decided to pull out every fight scene that they saw, pieces of that, and put it in their fight scene together, him and the clown.
Yeah. It's equal parts, again, like video games, anime, The Matrix. There's even some stuff in there that's very reminiscent of like the Clint Eastwood spaghetti westerns or like the old, Kurosawa samurai flicks. There's a lot of influences that were all chucked into the basket for ridiculous. And boy, does it work. And I fucking love the way he looks in his clown busting get up with the long nose and the Russian hat, and like he doesn't even have a name for himself. it's fucking great, dude.
And my notes are kind of all over the place for this one. Apparently I was more interested in what his room looked like. Like, I used to have a computer like his, and I liked his Star Wars collection that he had on his wall.
Yeah.
And I was wondering if they were using Mario Paint as the original sound background for it. I remember when I did a show called Our Folly in high school with friends that we would show around tape-wise. We did our own shot on video type stuff, and then, of course, that was all lost. But we used Mario Paint for our soundtrack for all the time. That's what this sounded like. And also, I wrote down, it's odd to see fencing moves with a katana.
Yeah, I loved how that fight like started all epic and overblown, and then eventually just like devolves into them almost fighting like RuneScape characters or something. Like they're just slashing at each other with those silly sound effects. I loved it, dude. The way the clown was dressed up with the tiger nose was dope too. There's just so much. It reminds me of One Piece. Is honestly what this shit reminds me of a little bit. And that's not just because the, dude's long nose is reminiscent of what's his ass. I forget his name at the moment, but it's just got that random over the top action vibe to it. I loved it, man. I love that he's trying to bust the dude for driving his own car. Like he just invents that he's stealing it to have an excuse to try to kill this clown. What did you think of it, Cody? I know you like clowns and whatnot, so.
This one was just okay for me.
Oh man, I fucking loved it. I thought it was ridiculous.
It looks like they must have cut some of the fight, because you go to the ground and it looks like they've had like a ton of different weapons they've been using in the combat, because there were guns and all sorts of things on the ground.
Oh, he keeps pulling them out of his pockets or whatever, like doing the clown car thing, and he's got all these different weapons that he keeps slicing in half or whatever. I forget what that one thing was from, but at one point they have like this big black gun that a sword pulls out of the center of the gun. And I swear I've seen that before, like outside of this. So it's well, it's obviously a lot of action figures and toy guns have been involved in all
yeah.
these shorts, which is cool. But yeah, I thought it was cool, man. I thought it was neat that they also included like a tortured vigilante type story in here. Like this is their version of doing like Batman or something, and it's so stupid that I just can't get enough of it, you know.
Man, his first night out, he just didn't get the luck. He chose the wrong one.
Well, it's such a glorious twist to their like conclusion where he destroys everything ridiculous about the clown, and then he realizes that now he's the ridiculous one.
So we'll go on to one that I really didn't care for overall, which is the kitchen.
Yeah.
So essentially, a guy interviews a bunch of people that he considers ugly, and in order to see how they deal with being ugly. And then the second half of it is people talk stuff in a restaurant, that AKA their kitchen. And I was sitting there, like, I can identify with Bob. But let's see here. And then I've got, well, not really until just now. Got to love the line of questions. I think that was that guy that was like, no, I didn't realize what this was until now. I'm married. Because he apparently was in line for the Jerry Springer one where, his cousin that he married. And then the lesson, if you feel bad about the lesson learned, if you feel bad about being ugly, be a Walmart creator.
Yeah, everyone will say hi to you. Yeah, I don't know. I don't care. This is probably my least favorite of all of the shorts. This one and the bear. It just doesn't do much for me. I mean, the joke is funny as far as like the ugly people stuff.
Yeah.
It's funny for like a minute. Like the whole interview segment probably would have been funnier if it was like a random thing that was on TV for a minute in one of their other movies, you know?
It's the only one that dragged to me. This is the only short that actually dragged a little bit.
I think that's partially too because it's just people talking, really. There's not much to it action wise, and it's all the whole thing is just the joke being basically done several times over, and then it ends, you know.
The thing that amused me the most from this was the guy who didn't realize he was married to a cardboard tree.
Yeah, that was good.
So did you remember
the way he just casually slipped it in, and then the interviewer just brushes right past it? Like it doesn't fucking matter. Yeah, that was good. There is elements of this I did find funny, but overall it just wasn't a favorite. Sorry, go ahead. You were asking Cody something.
I was gonna say, was this one you remembered at all, Cody? I can't imagine you got to it originally.
No, I don't remember this one either.
I didn't remember it either the first time, other than I remembered the beginning part of it when I came back to it, and I was like, "Oh," which is not which is not a great reaction when you're starting out something again. It's like, "Oh, it's this." All right,
yeah, we'll get through this. Yeah, dude, I think it would work best as like stitched in, I don't know what, interstitial stuff in a larger movie where it's just there's like a TV in the background, and every now and again it focuses on what's on the TV, and it's like segments of this. I think it could work really well like that, like broken up into random little 15-second segments.
Oh, this should have been 2 shorts, really, because that second half.
That's also true.
Like, yeah. I think the second half could have worked as its own short. It needed reworking a little bit, but I think it could have done it. But at least they end pretty strong, because I like the last 2 shorts. Quest for the Sacred Roll. Aliens go in search for a sacred roll of toilet paper. I love the bong song that they have. Yeah. I actually also like the special effects. I like the alien throwing the gun instead of firing the gun, when he gets
But he
older.
does it effectively. Like you
Yes.
never see the gun throw in a movie actually do anything, and he fucking murks that dude with the gun. And then he's throwing CDs, and there's that dope sound effect that beep, 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 beep. Like,
Yes.
everything about this is our brand of stupid, dude. Right down to the alien language that they're doing, and him putting his fucking finger in his ear to like phone home or whatever. Oh my god, dude. Best fight sequence I have seen in years. And the fact that they stop halfway through in the mudroom to take off their boots before
Yes.
continuing the fight in the house is so fucking funny. If you grew up again anywhere in the northern parts, the northern regions, you know, I feel like that's where mudrooms are really a thing. In Canada, both houses I lived in growing up before we moved down here had like an actual mudroom that was, it's like its own separate room built onto the front of your house before you go in the actual front door of the house. And then my aunt's house also had one of those mudrooms built onto it. So it's maybe one of those things that's specifically regionally funny, but goddamn, I feel like it translated pretty well to you, huh, Brandon?
Well, you see, it's always been considered polite to take off your shoes before going into a person's house. So to me, though, yes, we didn't have a room for it specifically, but always when we get into the house, right at the like first part of the house, we'd always have a little like bench to put our shoes on when you go in, and you know, slip on your slippers or just keep your socks or whatever. So that was just politeness when I was growing up to always take off your shoes when you're going into a friend's house, because you know you don't want to track in whatever you got out there. But yeah,
it is a good practice, something that weirdly we don't do in most of the other states. It is very much a northern thing. I don't know why. A lot of times you'd see like a shelf built out of milk crates so that your snowy boots could like drip dry in there and shit.
yeah, that we
you
didn't
put
have
them
to
in
do.
there upside down, you're good to go. You come back out the next day, they'll be only lightly soggy.
I mean, we had to deal with that growing up because I grew up in the mountains, so we always had snow when I was a kid.
Right.
But these days, not so much. But back when I was a kid, yeah, all the time.
We're getting less and less of it now. Global warming is the thing.
But yeah, I
think that the go ahead, sorry.
No, I was just saying I like this one overall. I thought it was just the right amount of strange and funny. Had a little bit of Mars Attacks thrown in there, in my opinion. A little bit of this, that, and the other, and then just a little comedy bits. It was definitely a great follow up for The Kitchen, which I thought was kind of lame. It definitely brought me back up again.
For sure. I also just, I mean, there'd been some good fight choreo, good being a subjective term. Yeah. There'd been some unique fight choreography all throughout these. But this, when I hit this point, was where I realized, like, man, there might be some value to hiring these guys to do fight choreography for your B movie, because there's a specialness to the way they do it. It feels like they're, how do I put it? Maybe it's also the combination of them using toys and like action figures and fake guns and stuff through all the stuff. But the way that the fights feel, they feel exactly like those awesome play fights you would have as a kid, but done really well, you know, really well to that standard. You know what I mean? Like the fight, and this is fucking epically stupid.
Yes.
But if you were doing it as kids, it would have been like the best. You know, you would have thought you were like action stars in there throwing those moves around. And they managed to do it in a way that comes across the feeling of that, I think. You know, it doesn't feel like B-movie fights that are done to be bad just for the sake of being bad. It's like sincerely bad because they're just playing. You know, they're just legitimately having fun doing it. You can tell that there's several points throughout all of these shorts where these guys had to have broken, you know, between cuts, like laughing, because it's they're having so much fun doing the shit. Wow. What did you think of this and the amazing fight choreography and everything, Cody?
I like this one. I put on there that it reminded me of them doing their version of the They Live fight.
Yeah. There is a very WWE element to the fights in this too, even in the fucking Fruits of the Devil or whatever, where they're whacking each other with the sticks and stuff. They're definitely wrestling fans, but you can tell by all the other pop culture that they're clearly into them. it's likely, yeah, that's a good comparison. It is kind of like that They Live fight too, and that it's so long and drawn out. You think it's going to be over like 3 different times, and it just keeps going.
Well, I guess we'll go to the last one. Sleigh Bells Keep Ringing, the only Christmas one on here, which could have definitely fit better on the Christmas compilation. But Santa goes door to door collecting donations, but is kidnapped to be made a sacrifice to the devil god, as you do. I really like the Christmas music in it, and how and I really was like, man, these guys really hate snow. But the things in this were pretty fun, like the strange ninja rap reference for Ninja Turtles, and the whole Dasher Prancer kill line. To me, I admit, the first time I watched it, I didn't quite like it as much because it was at the end of everything I watched, so it was kind of like, all right, I'm ready to kind of get to the end of these. But after I watched this one again, I was like, no, I like this. This is ridiculous. It's not necessarily bloody, but it's ridiculous. It's violent, and it's right up my alley with my sense of humor.
I gotta admit, didn't watch it this time. I think I did watch it the first time through back when we did it. This time I had just popped the disc in the player and it had been sitting there for a few days, and then I sat down to actually watch it. And when I got to this, I was like, wait a minute, is this the one we're saving for December or whatever? And so I skipped it. But then when I went to put it back in the case, I saw on the back that there was like the cover for the Christmas special on the side as well. So I fucked up and didn't watch it for this one, but I'm sure it'll get mentioned when we do the larger Christmas special as well.
We can definitely watch it again for that, because it's a fun one to watch around this time.
This is all you guys. I do have a story about the Ninja Turtles Christmas rap, though, a brief one. For some reason, my brother got really fucking addicted to that tape when we were kids. I think I've told this on this show before. And so after months of out of season listenings to the rap song by the Ninja Turtles, I had to commandeer the tape and chuck it under the fucking living room couch. So we had one of those big, huge, heavy sectional couches that no one was fishing under that thing for lost stuff. Harriet the Spy was also under there because that was one that my cousin kept watching on loop. So I had to chuck that sumbitch way back there because it's one of those orange tapes. So you might see it if you just glanced under there. I made sure Harriet was buried deep, well back there behind that Turtles tape. Those were those days, man, when, streaming and personal devices didn't exist. So you sometimes would be subjected to numerous watches of something you didn't like or grew to not like because a relative would watch it too much. And we all did it to someone else, too. I for sure made people tired of the Mighty Ducks when I was a little kid. So I was guilty of it also. No one else had the bright idea of fucking disposing of those tapes like a dead body, though. I would fucking disappear those things if I had to.
Kids will watch something over and over again. I think it's just the way our minds are when we're growing up, is that we just get obsessed with one thing and we'll watch that one episode of a TV show over and over, or read that same little book over and over again.
I have bouts of it as an adult. There's certain movies that when I get back around to revisiting them, I'll end up watching them several times as just background noise after the fact, Reanimator is one that most recently I've done that with because I love Reanimator so much. So after I watched it and talked about it on the Schlock Talk, I've watched it 2 more times just as like sort of side watching it on the side of doing other stuff. But.
So why don't we instead, I won't go any more into this one. Why don't we hold this one off until the Christmas discussion, and we'll lead with this one off of this. But just to note that it's on there. Did you have any thoughts about it, Cody? I'm guessing you didn't get to it either.
Yeah, I didn't watch it the second time either. So leaving it for that will be probably a good idea.
So, this time will be, you guys will have it fresh in your mind. But just to say, this thing was over the top. It was dark and it was funny at the same time. I think these guys do best when they mix that dark and funny together. So I think y'all will like it when you catch it again.
Dude, and even on that Christmas tip, you know who I think would be perfect to do a remake of the Seaver flick Happy Holidays? would be these dudes. Like if you were to
Yeah.
give them a bigger budget to do their version of Happy Holidays, I think that would be fucking glorious.
I could see that. Yeah. We'll
Because
have to
they're
do.
similar brands of humor, you know. They're not as raunchy as Chris, but they get raunchier in different ways. I feel like. I don't think there's swearing in this stuff, is there?
Not a lot, if there is any.
I don't think they really swear in it. I mean, other than I think they use some words that might not even be considered swear words anymore, like piss, you know. But I don't think there's not really foul language all throughout these. They're moderately family friendly if you really get down to it, outside of like content, you know, in terms of language, or there's no nudity or anything. There's only like one girl that's in a couple of the shorts, or maybe two characters in the same short. That's not a knock on the Metroshia boys. I'm sure they were swimming in poon. I don't know. But they certainly weren't putting it in their short films, at least. So there's not a lot of stuff in here that's like explicit content. It's just absurd and somewhat violent, you know?
Yeah, I mean, and I think all this goes back, when I look at this as a whole, this goes back to the concept of this has that feel of just a bunch of friends or relatives or friends and relatives getting together and just having fun with a video camera and editing software and saying, hey guys, let's just have fun and film our own stuff. I know I've done it as a child. I'm sure other people have. It's just a lot of, and you can tell that a lot of fun was in on this, and there was a lot of, and there definitely was a lot of random decision making going on. But still, I mean, what am I doing now? I am making a movie about a killer web camera. And which I'm hoping to finish sooner than later, but it is, and it's probably not going to look as good as some of these, so which is kind of.
I think the thing that's, again, I got to circle back around to it. There's a sincerity to these. I think that most of them, with the exception of the ones like the bear, or the silent movie one, or the kitchen, that feel like they were cranked out to have like content out. All of them feel like the sort of thing that they made first and foremost with the intention of making themselves laugh, you know? And I think that's why I also maybe liken it to the Chris Seaver stuff, because that's Seaver movies in a nutshell. He does not give a fuck if you find them funny. You finding them funny is a cool byproduct that he enjoys, you know, but at the end of the day, they're doing that shit mostly to make themselves laugh. That's why there's so many inside jokes. That's why in these there's like unexplained recurring characters, like the dude who has the Muppet nose or whatever showing up in a couple of different shorts. I mean, that was 100% there just because they think it's funny. And you know what? So do we. But I love that kind of shit. Like that's the kind of stuff I want to do, where it's, you know, because it comes across more real that way. If there's going to be people that don't find it funny. I'm sure there's plenty of people who have watched this stuff and written it off as trash. Taste is subjective, you know, it's going to be different for different people. If you vibe with someone's, like, I'm confident we could hang out with these dudes and have a fun conversation just because our sense of humor and sensibilities lines up pretty well with them based on what's clearly being displayed in their obviously not for profit art that they're putting out there, you know. And I don't think any of these were done with the intention of making anything off of them either. Because how would you, especially back then? I mean,
at the prices they were selling them for, I mean, they were just charging for what it cost to make them. I doubt they were getting anything out of them.
Right.
Because when I say I got all of them for like $20, there were a lot. I mean, there's a lot of them, I don't. And the sad thing is, I don't remember all of them. I just know that there are a lot of them.
Well, how much of their stuff is still available? Is it just a couple of their more like full-length productions, or?
I think it literally is Snow Shark and Post-Apocalyptic Commando Shark.
Yeah, I looked while we were talking, and they have an eBay page, and those are the two things on the eBay page. They have them both on Blu-ray.
What about Legend of Six Fingers or whatever? That looks pretty neat.
Let's see here. I've got I'm looking at my stuff. Like I've got the things that I can see from them that I have, like Metroshia triple omelet. Let's see here, and then there's the Dorothy the pig ones that Dorothy the pig's manifestation of a good idea. Dorothy the pig. There's a couple others that there's actually another shorts collection that I have as well.
Nice.
That I am. Let me see if I can dig that up. Then there's the Christmas special. There's there's definitely a lot of those things on there, and I'm trying.
It's just frustrating that they're not easily available. I mean, if you ever find the time and you're able to set it up so that we can watch some more of this stuff, I would definitely take some digital links off of you so that I can at least look at it.
Okay, creatures that would never attack pack is one that I have.
That sounds great.
Yeah.
Because I was looking up one that I remembered the name of, which was Revenge of the Worms Part 1.
Yeah, that caught my eye when I was looking through their YouTube channel. They have a trailer up there for it. So
I've got a whole bunch of them. So like I say, I cleared out all they had when I was back then, whenever Dave would introduce me to something, I would just like, oh, these indie people, you never know if they're going to still have that stuff up. So I'll just buy all their stuff, and then
that's a good way to do it. Wish I'd done that more.
Because their stuff could disappear. I mean, these people, they just disappear sometimes. Their stuff just
it's bizarre to me that this isn't all on their YouTube channel if it's not available physically.
Look at Games Master. What have you done? And what was it? Dungeon Rubber. I mean, nobody has heard of those films except for a few who watched them originally when they were at the cons there. Otherwise, it's dead media. And I've had a couple of comments on my YouTube channel where I uploaded it. Still none from the creators themselves who have disappeared. So I guess they don't really care that it's up there or no. But so many people saying, man, I saw this a long time ago and I thought it would never be seen again. Thank you for letting me see this again. It's just sad to see that.
Yeah, it's a bummer. I mean, like I said, it's super bizarre that these guys don't have this stuff available on their YouTube channel.
Oh, yeah.
I wonder if it's that they don't own it anymore or something. I don't know. Sometimes that happens with this kind of shit where they technically don't own it and some other asshole that distributed it for them for a bit does and won't put it out anymore. We know a feller that does that stuff sometimes.
Yeah. Actually, now I have the ability to do one-to-one stuff, and but yeah, if they ever sell stuff, we can always reimburse them.
Yeah, let us know, guys, if you want to sell any. If you have copies of these original collections laying around, I'll certainly buy them. And anything else that you got that you want to make available again. I mean, or at least just put it out there so people can see it. I mean, I think this is one of those discussions we've done where it's like, kind of like when we did Games Master, where it's like, this is cool, but like literally almost no one is going to know what we're talking about because they're so rare that like we've seen it and maybe 100 other people in the world or something.
At least we can say now with that one, you can say, well, here's the link to the YouTube.
Exactly. Yeah,
you can actually see it now.
So hopefully the Metroshia guys will throw these up there. I think they're very inspirational too if you're trying to get into doing these kind of like films. These guys would be good role models to have starting out. Like I would almost say like, once he's maybe a little older, Blaze should see shit like this, so that he has like a good influence in terms of not just doing quick and cheap, but also doing it very sincerely and adding in humor and not being afraid to get weird with it or work outside of your budget and just use your imagination and have fun. I think that it's easy to maybe get discouraged when you're doing these kind of movies because you don't always have cool props that you could work with or new masks or whatever. But these guys literally did his fucking alien costume was like a Dracula cape with a blue windbreaker.
Yes.
What more do you need? You know, like he just painted his face blue and made weird noises, you know. And it worked, man. I fully bought him as an alien. I love at the end too, where he's like fucking looking into the toilet paper roll and freaking out in the bathroom. It's glorious. And then he phones home. I think that this should be required viewing for most Schlockaholics because it's just good stuff. And you know, I think if you're going to go into eventually watching their feature films, you're maybe going to appreciate them quite a bit more if you have these under your belt. And you can kind of see what they were doing when they were doing it with nothing, you know.
I guess I'll just have to use paper towels from now on.
Well, dude, look at Devil's Fruit. I mean, it's like the props and effects department of that movie or that short was 3 oranges and a little bit of blood.
Yeah.
That's it. You know?
Well, and the hatchet that kind of like...
Oh, yeah, there was the hatchet. I love when the handle flies off and he just looks at it for a second. They keep fighting. It's so good. So I guess, you know, this is a good point to do the old favorites. I guess we'll just start with this one since it's already up on the screen. Do you guys have... we'll do a favorite short and then favorite scene because they might not be in the same short, you know. So favorite short overall and then just favorite scene overall from the Greatest Shits Volume 1.
All right. Well, I'll go ahead since I guess Jugs of Calci is my favorite from Greatest Shits. There's no ifs, ands, or buts. It's just so weird, and I like weird. You guys can tell.
Yeah, but, it's kinky, dude. I dig it.
But it's just hilarious to me. Now, as far as favorite scenes, I love it when they do the weird reference to the ninja rap and sleigh bells keep ringing, and where Santa's yelling, "Dasher, Prancer, kill!" I love that, which sadly you guys didn't get in on this time. But to throw out another one, just because that was kind of left out, the Bong song.
It is great. I think for me, Jugs of Calci is definitely my overall favorite short from this batch for the exact same reasons. And then favorite scene has to be the fight scene in Quest for the Sacred Roll. It's just too epic, and the mud room scene warms my heart. Just all of it is great. What about you, Cody? You got a favorite short, favorite scene from this volume here?
Well, I think we're all the same in this one. Jugs of Calci is probably my favorite, and I'll stick with that same one and just said the bed rocking scene.
That is good stuff.
It sticks with you at least as far as remembering one. That one, I don't know how anyone can forget Jugs of Calci.
Yeah, it'll stay with you. So what about from the films from the Vault of Madness here? What would be your favorite short, favorite scene from this one?
Stick with me.
Yeah, you know, might as well.
Okay. My favorite short was Sweet Tooth, and I will go favorite scene though is for Don't Go Pissing on the Wrong Grave, and it's the You're Pissing on My Sister Wife's.
Yeah, you pissed on my sister wife's grave. I love it. That'd be the same for me, only I would definitely have to mention that honestly, I think it's a dead tie for me between Sweet Tooth and Devil's Fruit or Fruit of the Devil or whatever for favorite shorts. I think the most oddball one in the bunch is definitely The Portal, and I can see why it wouldn't be a standout for you guys maybe, but I'd give that the underdog credit. But for me, the two best would be Sweet Tooth and Devil's Fruit. But yeah, same scene for me as far as the sister wife's grave, you know.
For me, of course, Sweet Tooth is by far my favorite. It actually got me interested in watching this collection. The Christmas Sweet Tooth Christmas special got me into watching this, and watching the trailer for the short that they did. But the favorite scene is either between that you pissed on my sister wife's grave, but I also really liked, what was that thing there? the house, Welcome to the House of Sleep, where they're all he gives them the thing, they all fall out, and then he goes and robs them all and just leaves.
It's so stupid, but I love it so much. Like he just takes all their wallets. Yeah. And then the guy's logic is, it must have been you guys. You all conspired to take my wallet and spend my monies. And so he just stabs them. It's good times. I think I would have to say too, man, there is just, it might be one of the most straightforward, but that don't piss on the wrong grave really does have some funny stuff in it. I really also love, like I said, that initial part where he just hits him up like, so want to go piss on a gravestone? Like it's just a thing to do. And then they're there and he's doing it and his friend's back there watching him. And he's like, feels good, don't it? And he's like, yeah, it does. He's like, I do it all the time. It's so good. One of these days I'll have to try it. I just have to find the right gravestone that I won't feel bad about pissing on, I guess.
Yeah.
They're out there. Sweet Tooth, I think, gets my vote for best cover of all of these two. I think it feels the most like an actual movie poster, you know. I could see framing that up and having it on the wall. In terms of other cover arts, obviously it's very basic, like low budget, mid 2000s style covers. Nothing too fancy or anything. I like the ones that look like they were drawn with MS Paint. In terms of the other batch, there's not really much in the way of covers. I do like how Drugs of Calci kind of looks like an indie film that you might have seen at the time. Oh, yeah. You know, like that cover is pretty spot on. And I really do like the Quest for the Sacred Roll cover as well. It feels like I don't know why it reminds me of like Oversexed Rug Suckers from Mars or some of the budget covers you would see on those random sci-fi movies.
Oversexed Rug Suckers from Mars has one of the most kick-ass covers for what it is.
It really does.
We will really have to cover that one day, but we have to show the cover for that because the cover looks nothing like what you get when you get that.
Not at all. I think Cody would be equally pleased and annoyed by that movie too. It's real dumb, but it's proper schlock, man. I mean, you know, aliens piss in the drunk dude or drunk hobo's hooch, and it makes him have a love affair with a vacuum cleaner. I mean, what more do you need? You know. Yeah, I don't know. I think that this was a great choice, though, Brandon. I think it gave us a pretty good understanding of these dudes before going into watching any of their more elaborate projects and stuff. And, you know, I've never been much of a practitioner of going back and, like, scouring through shorts from people. I think my first real experience with watching shorts by a B-movie director was the shorts that they included on Splatter Farm. And you know, I guess this kind of has inspired me to maybe start doing it a little more often. Try to find out if they've got short films available. Because it's like listening to the demos of a band or something.
Oh, yeah.
Like go ahead.
I think it having like a... if they have like if you have a person who has a short film collection, or if we're talking about a director and we cover like 6 or 7 of their short films, if they're short films, not like ones that are half hour, but like actual, like ones like this, let's say that they do like a whole bunch like this. It's kind of great to do them kind of rapid fire to see how they go. I actually do look at these two as almost like little anthology movies that are done cheaply without a wraparound.
Yeah, you know, I like too how spoiled we are by the low runtime of these schlocky affairs, because you were like, oh, it's like a long movie if you watch them together, but really I think it's under 2 hours. Yeah, it's like not even that long. But we're used to movies that are like 60 to 80 minutes tops, you know. So, well, obviously we, you know, especially you, Brandon, you watch a lot of proper films that are longer than that. But when it comes to this stuff, that's the sweet spot for us. And it is, you know, it's a bit of a time sink to sit down and watch them all at once. And to be quite honest, watching it as a double feature, both the compilations, it doesn't flow the best into that second one, because the Greatest Shits is a lot more random. Vaults of Madness feels like more of a proper compilation, whereas Greatest Shits feels like just random shorts thrown on there. So the sort of feel, the flow of it sort of falls apart when you hit that second compilation, but it's still fun, you know. In the future, I definitely would revisit them on their own, though, you know. Vaults of Madness is getting watched every Halloween from now on. I mean, I got to get that sweet tooth and the devil's fruit in me for the holidays.
It's fun, and we'll talk a little bit after this is done, and I might be able to get something done.
Right on.
Yeah, I just think it's cool to revisit people sometimes that we've never heard of, if we can, when we get there, because getting names out there is really important, especially when you're in micro budget filmmaking. Getting your name out there is a big thing. And
yeah, for sure. And it's, hopefully if these guys can get more eyes on their shit, we'll start seeing more stuff from them again. It seems like they've kind of fallen dormant, obviously. I mean, all their other releases are gone other than the two you guys talked about. So that's kind of a shame. And there's certainly more from them I would like to see. So if they can at least, get inspired to put some of that stuff out there so that we can get it, watch it, and review it, that would be rad. But it'd be cool to see them make something else again. And I can't help but wonder what they're up to, because they're clearly a talented batch of dudes. And I hope that if they're not doing this B-movie stuff, they're at least working in entertainment somehow, because especially that main dude, that's like clearly the dude behind all of it.
All right.
Yeah, though, I think that you should definitely do yourself a favor, get out there and watch Snow Shark, and what's the other one? Post-apocalyptic...
Commando Shark.
There you go. I haven't seen them yet, but I plan on fixing that in the near future. We got some real good stuff coming up here. We're going to go ahead and plug that for you guys right now, and then we'll do our closing statements here. These guys can plug anything that they've got going on or have been a part of recently. But our next episode is going to be 2 Saturdays from now. I forget the exact date, but it's going to be Cody's selection, and that's going to be for the Polonia flick, I believe it is, House Squatch. So we're going to run that brief little teaser trailer for you, and then we'll do our closing statements here. Very much looking forward to checking this one out as well. I think it'll be a fun follow-up, like standalone review to this awesome shorts compilation. So House Squatch, we'll see you back here in a minute.
Cody always giving me an excuse to watch the stuff I've bought and have yet to put together yet.
Yeah, I don't own that one yet, but I'm sure I'll fix that at some point.
That was one that when I was talking to Kyle was always big on, you've got to see House Squatch. And it's rare that you'll get one that he's not in, that he plugs. So I'm like, okay, you got me curious. I got to see it.
Yeah, it looks fun, man. I mean, of course, you can never tell until you get in there and watch it. I assume at least Cody has seen it at this point, yeah?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, it's a good wacky movie.
Hell yeah. I mean, if you're signing off on it, and it's Polonia, so it's got to have some good qualities to it. We did get a couple of comments we'll run through before our closing statements here. Not much. We got Michael McNally, of course, checking in. Always good to see that feller out and about. And then we got JR, and it sounds like he's starting his October with the Silent Hills double feature.
Oh, heck yeah.
I've only ever seen the first of the Silent Hill movies.
Well, second one covers the third game and is really bad or really good, depending on who you ask.
Well, there you go. One of these days I'll get to him, and all those Resident Evil movies that they did. I've only seen the first one of those. So. They're
doing a new Silent Hill movie, and they're covering the second game. So now they're gonna have covered the first and the third, and then now the second. And went back.
That's such a fucking weird order to do it in, but whatever makes them happy. So you guys been involved in anything lately? I know Cody went out and shot a little movie that I'm sure he's able to properly plug now, since we're going to be talking about that soon. Did a little Camp Blood 9, did you?
Yeah, actually going back down there in 2 weeks to film something else. So I got the call about a week ago, so I'm excited about that. Recently released Amityville Apocalypse that all of us knuckleheads are part of.
It's true.
That's a fun watch. I'm always fun to be in something with you guys. And then of course we've all been working on Septum Sin's Amityville webcam that hopefully should be finishing up pretty soon.
Yep. I'm hoping that the final filming will be when we get together on the 22nd, barring everybody has their costumes, and internet working.
Right.
Internet for me, costume for other people.
Mine should be back to normal, obviously, after the music festival is wrapped up here. So it didn't do too bad for me on the old Wi-Fi tonight. I think it went pretty well, all things considered. But yeah, we should probably have better internet signal for me by the time we're shooting that as well. I've been involved in much, but we have been doing stuff for the channel again, obviously. We most recently did the first of our full moon discussions that we're going to be doing regularly over here. That was for the first Puppet Master film. Did that last Saturday with our boy Mason Egan, aka Megan, and Jester Mikey. Full Moon Royalty was in the house for this shit. His first ever live stream. He's not a dude that really does that kind of stuff. It went pretty good. A little bit of technical difficulties here and there, but it laid a good, the first brick in the foundation for an awesome Full Moon series over here. I'd been kind of struggling with ways to get that up on the channel over here. I mean, I'd considered moving my Full Moon Madness reviews over here at some point, but I think the discussion route is just the way to go. And it should provide us with several years of just fun excuses to get together periodically and do some Full Moon reviews. Going to be running those every Saturday. We got a Meridian one coming up here in just a little bit as soon as I'm done with these guys. And next week is going to be Shadow Zone. So lots of good stuff to get involved in.
Sounds like some fun.
I know that you, Brandon, recently did was it Black Swan discussion over there for Inside Movies Galore?
Actually, we've got a very fun month because every episode this month has to have a movie that has either scared or unnerved the person that submitted it. And that was Jake's, which I'll admit any Aronofsky film kind of leaves me feeling like, meh. But, and of course it's artsy because it's Jake. But the one that had me the most curious is Dave, because nothing unnerves Dave. Dave watches Sallow and is like, yeah, it was all right. It's pretty good. And, that's so I got like, what unnerves him? That's kind of scares me in itself, but I think it's going to be great. We're actually, his is the Saint Francisville Experiment, which I did get to see last night, and I do look forward to hearing why this is his thing. But we also have something for Septum Sin versus the World for once. We're back. We're on. We're moving. We had our first episode of the new show format this Friday, and we would have the second episode next Friday, but Amityville webcam filming is always going to take like priority until it's done. And then when it's done, the only thing that's going to interrupt Septum Sin versus the World is if we've gotten like a what do they call it? Basically, if I'm doing a favor for a friend, like I'm helping Dave with his movie Tales of the Forgotten. Right. But yeah, I'm hoping to film Monday, which is our usual filming for Septum Sin versus the World. But I'm willing to put that on hold because I only have 2 regular scenes left. And then I can actually go into production on the main film. And then the heavily comedic version, I only have hopefully 1 day of filming left, which Cody's going to be in on, hopefully on the later this month. And nice. We'll hopefully have it all done. And it'll be in from production to post-production. And it's I've got people lined up to try and help me with some editing, some special effects, and some music, which will be good. And we got John Ward as a member of the cast, and he's got some pretty cool accolades. So,
Fucking hey, dude, that's exciting stuff. I'm glad to see you back doing the YouTubes and everything. Yeah, we got all kinds of exciting stuff coming up, guys. Our last live stream on Monday, we did announce the schedule. We're going to start doing that in a standalone thing called the newsletter from now on, towards the end of the month. So we'll be able to keep you guys updated in a nice, easy, streamlined way so you can know all the crap that we're going to be talking about. And that's really it, Any of you guys that want to purchase a copy of Abraxas for our Schlock Watch party that we're running at the end of the month can get out there and do that, but it's really not necessary because it's available for free on a couple of different platforms. And hopefully we'll have all this stuff going up on Podbean here real soon. This will probably be our first audio only episode that exists over there on that platform, which will be cool. There's a lot of people that listen to their podcasts through there and Apple and various places that we're going to be getting up on in the future. So get out there, check out some Metroshia Productions shit. Check out everything that we've mentioned here. We've got some cool Camp Blood stuff coming up in the future as well. Look forward to announcing that to you guys at the end of the month. I've been Mosley. These have been Brandon and Cody. And you've been a bunch of Schlockaholics. We'll see you back here real soon.